Okay, so non-destructive cloning. You can create a layer, grab our cloning tool, and change the size. I'm going to get rid of one of the more easy things, or more obvious things in terms of this crack for starters. And change our size down to something relatively small. Hold down Alt, and we're going to choose where we're going to select from. So you want to select something that's going to paste over the top and look fairly similar. Now, one of the tricks to cloning is you have to keep changing the point that you use, and you notice I've not quite got that right, so Control Z and undo it. Change the point that you're using and make sure that your cloning actually lines up and looks realistic, or as much as you can. There's a crease of his trouser there, so we'll bring that down across that. And you're painting back in the detail out of virtually nothing, so you have to make sure that when you're doing it, you're not putting in information that you don't want. So you see this piece over here I've just made as a little bit lighter. So for example, a little bit of the darker section from up here. And now we're starting to get some detail back in there. There's some of the crack that looks like it's coming across there. There we go. We've got him sitting on this, so we're going to have to select part of that image there. And you'll notice how it changes. We don't want that big black blob in the crack, so what we can do is grab our eraser tool, and this is one of the few times that you'd use the eraser tool. Change our size, in this case it's so big I can't see it, and delete. And we can delete that piece of the mask, of the, excuse my cat, of the clone layer, and we can go back over and reselect another point. Now in this case I'm going to have to shrink the tool and use an even smaller brush. Why don't you use a small brush all of the time? Simple answer to that is if you do, you end up with cloning marks all over the place, and the whole idea is by the time you've finished, you shouldn't be able to tell that any cloning work has been done. And it really is a time-consuming job, but it's great fun because the rewards of actually producing an image that then looks real. I always wanted to be able to draw and couldn't, so I got into photography, and then I realized that actually with Photoshop I can draw, because if you're careful enough and understand what's happening and look at the image closely enough, you can draw using the information that's already there and put it back in. So it's a case of painstakingly going through and replacing and removing pieces. If you want to see whether or not you've done a good job, turn it on and off. And just by changing that layer, you can see it's okay, but I've got a little bit of I'm losing some of the clarity there, and it's not as sharp as I would like it to be. So let's see, we'll go with the sharpen tool, and we'll just put some of that sharpening back in just on that layer. Overdone it. Back that off. So yeah, it's about judgment. You really have to take time, and it will probably take you at least half an hour, maybe a couple of hours just doing the restoration part of this. We've got this black blob to get rid of. Now remember, we're going to be masking this edge, so getting rid of the whole of the blob isn't too bad. Change our brush size, and we need to find something that we can clone that's going to look like a piece of the replacement cloth. Now the fun part of this and then we're going to need to change the size and just make it smaller and smaller until we can actually get down to this edge. It may be that we actually don't have enough information there. In fact, we're not going to have enough. We're going to have to borrow it from somewhere else. So we'll grab a new layer, and we actually want to go down to our stamped layer, and we're going to select a little bit of the hand. This piece of the hand is probably close enough. Let's have a look. Copy that, so Control X, Control V, paste it in, so we paste it into a new layer, and we're going to have to turn it around, so transform T, drag it in upside down, Control T again, and this time I want it on warp, which will allow me to warp the corners. Now that's patched up the edge of the sleeve reasonably well, but we've still got this edge around here that's not working, and this edge here is too hard. So we go and use our layer mask, and we're going to reveal all. Grab a paintbrush, shrink it down. We're going to need a fairly hard edge. We don't want too much feathering in the work that we're doing. And we're going to paint out that edge, and paint out that joint, and just, in fact that joint's going to need to be a little bit softer, just so that you can actually see where the joins happened. And that's painted some of that colour back in. We've still got this edge to fix here, but now we know we can fix it, and that the sleeve's going to go over the top. I think that what we can do here is clone a much bigger piece of his sleeve again, and place it down here. There we go. And now we've got the other sleeve that we've put in over the top. That doesn't quite look right. Why not? Shadows. And this is the key to good Photoshop work, is your shadows. Now if I paint a larger brush on there and black over the top, you see it's just painting, it's painting over everything. It's not going to be how I want it. So you drop it down underneath that layer. Now it's now given us this edge here, so we can either mask it or we can get our eraser and get rid of that. And the other thing we need to do is change the blend mode to not darken but multiply, and reduce the opacity. So you're going to end up with a little bit of a shadow. Shadow, and we're going to go back and get rid of some of this edge of this jacket, so we just want a thin edge left. There we go. So that should give us something that looks almost real. It's not quite there, and we need to increase the contrast on it a little bit more. So one of the ways of doing that is if we change the blend mode for this to multiply, that'll make that darker, but if we duplicate this layer and change that blend mode back to normal, all the way around, and swap these layers over, you can see this has made this piece of the sleeve much darker. Now the problem with that is it's too dark, so back it off, reduce the opacity, and we've now got the edge of the sleeve that's almost looking realistic, and we've just made it up from scratch. So that's just one tool that you can use. You can paint it in by hand. There's lots of different options, but it's fine attention to detail, and then you zoom out and make sure that actually does that look real, does it look close to being right. Happy with it enough for now, but because we're using layers and layer masks, when we come to put him on our black background, if you then put all of these in a group, so I'm going to drag and drop these into group 1, no, it won't let me because the layer 0 is locked, drag and drop it into group 1, there we go, and now if we go and grab our selection tool and we're going to sample the layers and draw our layer mask around the soldier, and layer mask, and hide that, you can see it knocks back the background on everything that we've done. So it just shows through, it masks out the whole group. Obviously we need to go and do some more work, and this is where you need to be really careful when you're doing Photoshop work. We've lost part of his shoulder, we've lost part of his ear, and we've got this mess on the side. So we can go back and paint that in, grab a brush, and you'll need to change the size. Small brush for the finer detail work and a large one for your larger detail. And it's a case of going back and press X and it'll give us that colour back. So we put it white reveals and black conceals, and put that back in. And here, and let's just have a look at how well that's masked. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to put a new layer in, grab our fill tool. They've gone and moved everything on me again, haven't they? Paint bucket, there we go. And we're going to paint in that with, actually I want true black because it really does show the difference. Move the layers over, and now we can see that edge and check that it's pretty clean. It's not. We've got white patches around here that we need to clean up. We've got a spot there. We've got edges of the hat that's missing. We've got more of this braid that's still not working. So we can continue to do that and go and fix more and more of it. Another trick is to actually fill it with white, and between the two you can see parts that are missing. Definitely need to fix that shoulder. So once you've got that all done, then you can start working on your background and putting it in. And once you've got your background in, then you can start playing with your recolor. I suggest you turn your background black and white, and put the aging on the background, and then recolor everything in one go. If you do that, then you tend to keep a much cleaner colour scheme, and the colour scheme actually matches throughout the whole image. Yeah, so hopefully that gives you a few ideas to get started. If you're getting stuck, sing out, email me, and if I need to do more tutorial stuff, then I'm more than happy to do that.